to crash, or certain stocks have to crash, and expect that. We learned from Michael Burry in 2008 that the market, in a very real way, in a very fundamental way, was broken late 2005, early 2006, and didn't pay the price for another 3 years, and that was actually foundationally broken on a people not paying their mortgage level. Now we're talking about actually a different animal, where I think Nvidia and Meta and Google will probably continue to make record profits, not actually. And so people expecting, hey, the market has to pay the prices, we're going to get a crash. That may happen, but it'll probably happen not because Google loses all their money. It'll probably happen because something on the currency side breaks, or even more global macro than that. And so again, I think knowing lots of people who can't afford their car payment, it might be a real reality of the economics, but just be careful applying that to the stock market and what the values you see are. I think what we're going to see in the near term is that sugar high kind of phase that Graham and I talked about, which typically does precede a broken economy, especially with interest rate cuts happening. And I've mentioned a couple times now that I think it'll be like the top end companies that really benefit from that, your Mag 7s, but then also some of the like the small caps that just catch the right wave, that'll get a big win out of that. I think your middle of the road companies actually tend to get the least benefit from that scenario. So anyway, that's my spiel on that. I think we're entering that phase in a very real way right now. We got more bad numbers today, but no, the market didn't care one bit. I think that's kind of telling you all you need to know about where we are.
Yeah, and over time, I think Mag 7 and whatever you want to call it now, top 10 stocks, even like Oracle bumping in, they're just going to continue to eat everyone's lunch. And it'll be interesting. I don't think we're going to see anything here in the next year or 2 or 3 or 4. But I did see a study by Stanford published yesterday that 13% of new jobs were cut due to AI, which was quite interesting. I think I have to wonder and speculate if I'm a capitalist. I love America. I love the free economy that we have for the most part. But I wonder if greed will be the end of capitalism here over the next decade or so. But regardless, I think we are going to see Microsoft, Nvidia, Meta, Google just continue to grow and grow.
Yep. Agreed. Graham, we're going to have Chris jump on. Do you want to do a little preview of what you're going to be talking about during closing playbook?
Yeah, and actually, I think we'll be talking about it tomorrow here. Let me pull up my screen. You're referring to Apex?
Of course. What else?
All right. We still have a little bit of debugging to do. That's why it hasn't been pushed live for new members yet. But just want to show you guys a little behind the curtain how cool this is. So you can obviously see the Apex indicator here on the charts with all of the historic signals, everything you need to know. We got the back tester down here. This is currently what we're debugging. Right now it's showing, let me just give you an example. Actually, I saw it on AVGO. Right now it's currently showing like this is a loss because see how the candle, the body is below the stop loss, but that was the entry was up here. So if we run the back test right now, it's a little wonky, but we're debugging that today. But other than that, we're pushing this puppy live. So for example, we have a new signal here on AVGO. And the cool thing is you have many different ways to trade it. You can trade the stock with the target, stop loss, everything you need to know right there if you want to trade the underlying stock. Of course, for you options traders, let's just go pull this up. It'll be a good practice to see how it's running right now before we push it live. Pulls the exact call option for you guys to trade. Entry price, a little calculator down here for you guys. If we go to wrap order, you guys know I love the wrap order. Oh, analysis unavailable. So again, we're still debugging part of this right now before pushing it live. I know Apple's working, so let me pull this one up. Here's the current open position on Apple. Gives you the wrap order exactly how I would. Straight plain English. Debit price to enter. ROI at expiration. That one's here. Let me pull up another one here. Let's just see what we got. Meta. All of the tickers are in here. You can see blue active signal. No blue means no active signal. No real need to check it right now. But max ROI spread, let's see what we got here. Oh, that one isn't working. So again, we're just debugging it right now, but very excited about this going live. Nate, it was working perfectly about 5 minutes ago, and now we're getting some errors here.
That's always what happens when you're pushing new updates live.
And it's funny. It's funny. I just double checked it 5 minutes ago to say, okay, perfect. I'll be able to show it off real quick. And here we are. Let's see. Here, this one looks good. Wrap order on Meta. This one may not look good actually because this is the wrong expiration. So again, 5 minutes ago, it was all working great. But you guys kind of get an idea here of how it's going to work. Very simple, easy to read. Gives you all the details. I've also linked in the calculators too for any of you guys who want to use profit targets, early exits, all done for you. So very excited about that. Again, today is going to be a full debug day. I've been a little bit quiet on Telegram this week just because I've been all in trying to get this puppy perfected for you guys so we can take some trades tomorrow. We'll do a live masterclass tomorrow at noon, 12 p.m. Eastern. We'll see the current signals and take some trades there.
Nice. Love it. Well, I know it's been a lot of work in progress. And when you're pushing those new updates, it's always one of those things where it's like, 8 out of 10 things are working, and then you fix the 2, but then 4 out of 10 other things broke during the meantime, and you got to kind of keep going back. But obviously we'll get that squared away, and it's pretty cool to see even just the kind of the potential there of that. Speaking of potential, lots of potential in the market right now. I mean, lots of green, as Dave mentioned. Now, one thing that's red is my AMD trade that was up about 5.5% yesterday at the tops, and is trying to give it all away. So a little annoying on AMD, I have to say. But the rest of the market is looking pretty good. The SPY now up over 0.5%. We've got a couple weekly kind of turnarounds that are going to be interesting here on the tech side, like NVIDIA on the weekly chart. Obviously, AVGO, like you just showed, just absolutely continuing to rip after the earnings. Meta had that pullback down. What is that, to maybe 740 or so? Actually, about 720 last week, kind of turned around. So it'll be interesting to see if some of these Mag 7 stocks can turn around that had the dips, and if the ones that are flying like Google and AVGO, although AVGO not a Mag 7 obviously, but see if some of those can keep ripping. And then the small caps, let's see what they're at right now. Yep, catching up, outperforming. We have not hit a high on small caps yet. We've got about $6 left to go. So that's 2.8% or something. I don't know if my mental math is very good on that, but still a little bit of room on the small cap side as well if they are going to finish that catch up trade and get to all-time highs there. But
I'll let you finish your thought. But before you transition, I do have a pick I want to give you guys.
Oh, nice. All right.
Are you ready for me?
Go ahed.
All right, let me pull up my Thinkorswim. So I've got a buddy here who works with us behind the scenes, and
there's always a buddy. There's always a buddy.
Nerd. He's a nerd. He was the one that tipped me off to Iron. Did you guys maybe make some money on Iron or Cypher? This is when I put my whole retirement account in, and it boomed. Took some profits. It was a monster. Basically, what we're seeing right now is these Bitcoin miners are very, very efficient with energy. That's what they have to do to be profitable. They've inked huge contracts for some cheap energy. And right now, the reason Cypher is so high, which I do own this one still currently, but the reason why this price has run up is not because of Bitcoin or anything like that, but instead they are pivoting their business model to support data centers. So we know AI is huge. Data centers are needed. And they've all just simply said, hey, we've got energy, very efficient energy. We're doing it for cheap. Let's go ahead and get some contracts with the big, Mag 7 stocks, the mega cap stocks out there. So that's why Iron, Cypher have been running. Yesterday, CleanSpark, CLSK decided they were going to follow suit and try to ink some contracts with some of these AI companies who need energy. As you can see, the chart looks nothing like Cypher or Iron. It's still down here at $10.31. A squeeze like Cypher Iron would put it up here $18, $20. Now, my friend Dave, who, again, he's a nerd. He looks at this stuff all the time. He says a reasonable target here is about $13, which is 30% on the stock. It's up 3% today. So that's my free little bonus speculative tip for you guys, that CleanSpark is now making the pivot and could be a catch-up trade here, similar to Iron and Cypher.
So, Graham, you must have missed our session on Tuesday where I gave CLSK with a 12-13 debit spread.
Wow. Nate,
But that's
agreed,
all right.
We agreed twice in 1 week.
Twice in 1 week, we agreed. But I didn't know a guy. So your trade call is better than mine because I didn't know a guy. I just thought kind of the same thing. Catch up trade, really nice turn there.
And it's not our good friend here, David Mound, but it is another Dave.
No, it's a smart Dave.
Yeah. No. You are the smart Dave. My other friend Dave, who works with us. You're much smarter, Mr. Mound.
But maybe I'll add a couple here just because Graham knows a guy. Let's see. That 12-13 is still not too much. Maybe trading for 23 cents or so. So we're up, 50% on it or so.
Wow.
There we go.
Yeah, when I say I know a guy, he obviously has no affiliation with these companies. He is just obsessed with crypto, obsessed with the miners and learning about their business models. And he actually was the one that first gave me the heads up on Cypher, saying, hey, they're pivoting their model. Might want to buy it. So that was his most recent. Yesterday, he let me know. Their CEO tweeted about it.
Bodine said, "Is Nate the guy?" No, I'm not the guy. And nor is Chris the guy, but Chris is here today. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
What's up, guys?
We've been talking actually quite a bit about volatility, implied moves, market maker moves in some of these sessions because one of the things, and there's a lot of different directions we can go with this, but I'll let you take over and drive. One of the things that I've been talking about is just the VIX is pretty much broken most of the time. It really doesn't give you any real indication of market expectancy or true volatility. And so even as some of the market maker moves have expanded in situations, they have not mapped to the VIX at all in terms of what you'd expect the pricing to be. And so I really think the market maker move is arguably the most important thing to understand for an option trader, just to know what they're trading against, what they're trading inside of, where you can actually collect premiums versus where you have to overcome premiums. And I would say that most people really have no real understanding of what they're doing. One example I'll give you real quick, and then I'll hand it over. We were talking about trading Hood as kind of a strangle trade when it popped 15%, basically saying like, hey, I think Hood's either going to keep going or it's going to revert and crash. The most likely scenario is it's not going to trend sideways after this 15% breakout. Well, if you did the 115, 118 straddle, your break-even prices were like 127 and 105 on a 115, 118. Yeah. So we did it as a debit spread on either side, kind of break out of the box where you can get a lot more reasonable prices. But I would bet that most people trading a 115, 118 didn't realize they were actually trading for Hood to be at 127 or 105 just to break even. And so understanding just what you're actually trading, I think is super important. I know that's a lot of what you're going to get into, and then we'll actually get into the strategy itself a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people forget is this whole change into zero DTE, where everyone can trade every single day, and there's daily expirations on indexes and ETFs, the index ETFs. Market makers have been doing the same thing since 1970s, and all they've been doing is getting bigger, faster, stronger, more sophisticated. Their ability to control flows, liquidities, facilitate trading in these zero DTs, where now it's like 55 to 60% of daily option volume is all coming in a 0-day space. Hedge funds rotations are usually within 4 weeks now instead of 3 to 4 months. You're starting to see like day to day market makers. It's their job to, basically suppress the market. And when I say suppress, I mean, I don't know what the streak was, but it took a long time to break like a 2% day, 2% up, 2% down. And this all kind of started happening since 2022, since the zero DT came to space where we can trade it every single day. We haven't seen a lot of big swings. Now I say that we had Liberation Day and we had some 3-4% gaps this year, but also the VIX was up into the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s during March and April. So the VIX finally broke. Now the other thing that happens here too is there's been a lot of VIX suppression, meaning a lot of funds out there just sell VIX, and that's all they do. And there's key levels where if the VIX gets up into like 17, 18, 19, that is kind of the boundary of whether vol suppression is going to win or lose. And so when the VIX breaks like 20, Usually vol suppression is losing, and that's when you get the big spike from like 20 to 22 or 20 to 25, maybe 20 to 30, but vol suppression stops. But when you're in, like right now we're at 15 VIX. If we go 15 to 16, it usually comes right back down. 15 to 17 comes right back down. 15 to 17 to 18 comes right back down. That's kind of the threshold where volatility has continued to be suppressed, and it's been the game these last, I would say, 2 months here, guys. Like I'm surprised to see how long this market has been maintaining like melt ups where it'll hit a high, flush 2%, hit a high, flush 1 or 2%, hit a high, flush 1 or 2%. Yep. And I think right now we're leading into, the buy the rumor, sell the news, which is everyone knows the Fed's going to start cutting rates. It's a matter of how dovish is Powell going to be next week? How much pressure has Trump and company put on the Fed? How bad has their policy been these last couple of years because they raised too quickly, they cut too late, or vice versa. It's just nobody's happy with the Fed. However, we're sitting here today on CPI news, which again was higher. Like we're trending higher on inflation. We had a terrible jobs revision. We've had nasty jobs here the last couple of months showing negative jobs. Grammy just said that, basically AI is taking 13% of the workforce. It's not going to go away. And so I think, like Nate said, this whole idea of like a Main Street recession versus a Wall Street boom is kind of what we're dealing with. And it's like the slow burn of, COVID was this like COVID was the K-shaped recovery where things that were doing well did really well, and it was stock market, and things like economically, like Main Street, felt like the world is ending. What am I like? My whole life has been turned upside down with this pandemic, and here we are now, like kind of the same situation where AI is all the hype and AI is all the boom and all AI is getting the whole market's excited, and yet everyone's living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to get by, higher inflation, higher prices, life is more expensive, and now we're seeing jobs stalling. So it just paints a really like terrible sentiment picture. But if you've been watching sentiment this year, you've been dead wrong. I think the pain trade is that the market keeps going higher.
Let me ask you this question on the market, because you watch this actively every day at those levels.
Yeah.
So people sometimes talk around this. I'm curious, just point blank, with the amount of zero DTE exposure that market makers have, do you think they're actively defending those market maker levels on a day-to-day basis?
Almost every day. Almost every day they're defending it. If they're not, they usually carry it over one day and they defend it that next day. Like last week, it was Thursday was a run up to the highs. So here's how you know if market makers roll the risk the next day. If the market pushes high for the day and stays high and closes high, the market makers have hedged that day and they're pushing that risk onto the next day, and they usually win the next day and the market guardrails. Mm-hmm. But usually what we see is just guardrail highs, guardrail lows, and the market stays within there. Here's a good example. This week, let's go plus minus for the day for the week. So yesterday, the market opened around 50, closed around 32. That's only an 18-point move for the day. The day before that, 65.02. 65.02 was the open and closed at 65.13. 11-point move on the day. Here is 96 to literally 96. It moves 0 points for the day.
Yep.
So those are days where absolutely the markets are guardrailed, and that's where the market makers do their best defense. Even with a gap like yesterday, the market still stayed within the range. Even today, we had price gapping higher, but the market makers so far, 56 to 72 has only been about a 16-point move. We had a plus minus 30 on the day. It was like 30 to 35. I think we looked at this yesterday, David, when we were in a closing playbook. I think we were looking for anywhere between like 35 and 40 points based on towards the close yesterday. When they don't get it right, Thursday was a good example last week. We opened around 59 and we closed at 02. That's a 40-plus point move, and it was a plus minus 20 something on the day. So they hedged all day. They rolled that over, and then what happened the following day? They got it all back. So they're usually on point with if they let a day slip and they let a day roll, they're usually getting it right back the next day. So I say this because not every day that I trade is going to be perfect, but I am highly confident that if I get a day wrong, I'm going to turn around and get a day right. And one thing that's kind of staggering here, guys, is I've had this trade running for like 800 trades, and I asked this to David. He knows the answer now, but I'll ask you, Graham, you, Nate. In 820 trades, what do you think my biggest losing streak is day to day?
820. Well, I mean, because of Liberation Day and stuff, I would assume 4, maybe, because I know you're how high you're at. Yeah, I would assume 4, just because there have been some bottom fallouts that carried over day to day.
And the market will skip sometimes, a couple days in a row.
Yeah, 2 days in a row.
Wow.
That's the most I've lost out of 820 trades.
Yeah, that's insane for 820. And I should know that because I actually went through your track record a couple of days ago. And I still didn't know that, but insane. And I think a lot to do with what you just said, where, and again, this is not my specialty. I'll let you speak to this because what I care about more is just the mechanics and how they work out.
Yeah.
But I assume a lot of that has to do with the market makers they're like a casino, right? They're going to take some beats, but they're not going to take multiple beats in a row. They're not going to just keep getting shellacked, over and over and over again. So by definition, they have to protect their funds, and that protects your funds as the trader.
Sure. And so I use this analogy. If you think about, if we're trying to trade, that was this whole idea is trade like a market maker. If you think about what a market maker is, imagine yourself on the USA basketball team, the USA Olympic team. That's, future Hall of Famers, all-stars, some of the best players in the world, by far the best players in the world. And, USA takes gold in almost every Olympics. They had the redeem team. So now USA is back on top. But imagine being like either the guy that sits dead last on that bench and never gets on the court, or being like an assistant coach or a water boy. And all you're doing is being a participant on that team and winning. We don't have to be the crazy, sophisticated, all the tools, resources to be a market maker. I'm not going to be a market maker. I'm not a Susquehanna. I'm not an Interactive Brokers. I'm not a Citadel, but I know what they're likely going to be doing day in, day out. And yes, 0 day is such a wild and crazy thing to have this much order flow, these nominal expirations getting higher and higher. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. So we have Fed next week on the 17th, and then the 19th is a monthly expiration. I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to read something to the tune of like $7-8 trillion nominal expirations between your index options, futures options, the VIX expiration. Like, it's going to be another like record breaking expiration. So market makers have an incredibly difficult job day in, day out, but this is also what provides the efficiency that we've seen. So, I mean, if you can see my screen here, look, they have been doing this stuff for over 50 years. And I'm saying that because everyone's like, everything's so crazy right now. Like Trump is wild with his tweets, and he hates on Powell, and we got emergencies, this, and none of it matters. Like, it's been, if anything, the best thing you could do in 2025 is somehow ignore all the noise and just trade. If you never turned on a news outlet and just traded, you'd probably be just fine, and you wouldn't be nearly as stressed with all the crap that's coming at you left and right all over the place. So they've been doing this for over 50 years, and it is the biggest provider of liquidity in the market. So we've had super tight fills on bid-ask, even when the market's having a systemic risk during Liberation Day and the trade war. And then we pause, and then we have a ceasefire. We have conflicts flaring up in the Middle East. We've got questions on energy. We've got this potential Mag 7 rotation. All of it is noise. What has the market been doing since the bottom in April? Melting up. And I think we have to have some flushes and some pullbacks, but basically what a market maker move is every single day is it's going to give us, with a fairly high degree of probability, what the assessment is from current volatility, what the market's capable of doing on a day-to-day basis. And they do this right here. They do this for every expiration. So literally every day, there's expectations of what the market's going to do plus or minus for the day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year. And it's not surprising that sometimes during a quarterly expiration, the market's overstretched to the upside or overstretched to the downside. And before the end of that quarterly expiration, the market pulls back and stays within those quarterly guardrails. Literally, there's a trade with JP Morgan every quarter that is essentially a quarterly collar. And right now, that quarterly collar is a 6,500 level. And I'm surprised that we're above it right now, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised by the end of September when the quarter ends if we are at or lower than 6,500, because the entire quarter has been hedged to these levels to either one, get there, or two, defend it. So don't be surprised if by the end of this month we are below 6,500. So this is where we make money. If you're looking to align yourself with a market maker, is that we make money when every day, every week, every month, every quarter, if the expected move turns out to be greater than the actual move. Like I showed this week. Yesterday, the market only moved about, I think, 18 points, and it was plus minus 25. Day before that was 9 points. It was a plus minus 20. Day before that was literally 0, plus or minus 20. Expected moves were greater than the actual. That's exactly what the market makers do on a day-to-day basis. So, where can you find this information? And this also takes into account everything that's happening during the week. Today's CPI news, priced in the market. Next week's FOMC, priced in the market. Okay. The randomness with Donald Trump on Truth Social and maybe tweets, a little bit more random, but when you test the waters of, hey, I think I'm going to fire Powell, the market reacts, right? I asked David this yesterday. The market dropped 0.74% in 30 minutes and then was up 1% later in the day. Market makers were caught off guard by that news, and they added their powers in, they added their liquidity in, and they defended the integrity of the market maker move for the day. So it's such a powerful force to be aligning with. And I know that it may be frustrating to lose a day because you're like, I shouldn't have lost today because I was trading just like the market makers. But I'm telling you that if you align yourself with this team every single day or every single week, you're more often than not going to come out on the right side of those trades. So like I said, 820 trades, 2 losers in a row was the most I had in 820 trades. That's pretty impressive to know. Like, you're going to win most of your trades, and you're trading with some of the biggest forces, deepest pockets, and most sophisticated like models in the world. They do it faster now. I mean, there's prop models, Black Scholes, and there's all sorts of fancy stuff that goes into it. That's above my pay grade, man. I mean, I just know that their job is to defend a high and defend a low and see how price behaves. So when you're looking at a broker platform, here's a tasty trade image. So if you can see, on your option chain, you have your expirations on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, you have the implied volatility with all your plus or minuses. All those plus or minuses are the market maker calculations. You guys trade a lot of Thinkorswim. Have you ever compared? I get this a lot in my live sessions. I see that the Thinkorswim plus or minus is usually a little bit higher than Tasty. And it's not like an edge. That doesn't mean anything. But I find that interesting that there's yesterday we looked at, it was towards the close yesterday. It was a plus minus 35 on Tasty and a plus minus 41 on Thinkorswim. So I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just thinking that it's interesting that there's still that slight divergence from broker to broker. So thought that was interesting.
But that is interesting.
The other divergence, though, I think you and I even talked about it, especially after the April flush. This would have been a couple months ago.
Yep.
The put to call variance on the expected move has gotten crazy some of these weeks. I think it's balanced out now just because the market's been moving slower. But during some of those run-ups, it was wild. It
was. And just got another trade filled. Okay, good. So I'm just trying to use a couple images to show where things are getting filled at. So you've got this is Thinkorswim Web. So I can do a comparison here. If I look at September 11th, that was a plus minus 48. September 11th here, plus or minus 55. So there's a decent, I would say, variance between the market maker expected move. What I find interesting is Tasty Trade's team is actually the one that built Thinkorswim, 13 years ago. So the fact there's that much disparity between those two, it's not a lot. It's plus or minus 7 points. But to me as an option trader, that makes a big difference. So what does this all mean when it comes to trading? This is an indicator that I have for my daily profit play. Basically what I'm looking at is these are kind of my visuals to make sure that I have a guardrail on the day. So what you see in yellow, that is representing it's called the VIX rule of 16, which is essentially you take the VIX value, divide that by 16, and that should keep the market contained for the day. Very rarely do we see, especially on the upside, guys, if the VIX is sitting at 15, we rarely see blow off moves to the upside. What we tend to see is if the VIX jumps from 15 to 17, 15 to 18, then we could possibly, test those floors and push down a little bit lower and exceed that to the downside because the VIX is obviously going higher for the day. But for the most part, it's that famous saying, bulls climb stairs, bears jump out of windows. At least that's what I like to say. Because when the bears are really in control, they will flush this market down aggressively. The VIX is up and, it's chaotic and all of a sudden bid ask gets really wide. But every single day, if I have resistance and support that I can align myself with, the market makers should not let prices get too high or too low. If they let it happen for the day, like I said, they're typically rolling that risk into the following day, and they're usually going to correct it the next day. So if I am essentially selling premium up these highs or selling premium down at these lows and planning for this to be kind of my line in the sand, I usually get those levels to pay me very consistently with high probability. My risk reward is generally I pull in about 20% on the risk. So if I'm risking, up to $5, I'm going to pull in at least $1. So I make one to risk 4. So anyway, I mean, I use good trade size. I use good trade management, and I also scale myself in. Today, for example, we're still just pushing higher, but this is what I have. It's this is my trade view indicator. Here's on Thinkorswim. The yellow lines represent my VIX box, and I have my ATRs. So right now, today, we are already sitting above the 50% ATR, and we're creeping up into the 100%. I don't think we're going to go too much higher than 100%. If the market makers are going to use today as a defense level, we shouldn't go too much higher than that 100% ATR. If we do, then they're probably, like I said, rolling this risk to tomorrow, and the market's probably going to go sideways or flat, or maybe even pull back tomorrow to kind of rebalance the risk for today. But I'm hoping that by today, we are maybe running up to this 100 around 65.80 and then falling back down. I'd like to see that level defended today. If that's the case, then market makers are still doing it.
So, Chris, do you think that, you talk about when there is a flush that they're going to roll it over? Do you think that's one of the reasons 2025 has been like one of the best buy the dip years in 30 years because of those zero DTE playing such a big role?
Absolutely. Yeah, because that risk is rolled for like a day. I mean, I'm telling you, man, like it's like 55, 60+% of all option volume is day to day.
Yeah.
And so when you get to like Thursdays and Fridays, that one DTE for all of your major stock expirations, you have lots of movement on those Thursdays and Fridays. Everything for indexes, you'll see that it's 0 day every day. But if somehow you have like an outlier type day where I'm like, I can't believe we did that on a Tuesday, we'll look and see what Wednesday does, because Wednesday's probably dead sideways. There's totally choppy, or the market balances. And this, I mean, guys, the last couple of months we're still at all-time highs today. It's like all this market has done is flush, rally, flush, rally, flush, rally. I mean, we're sitting here with what I think is a pretty good technical rising wedge. But I know also trading rising wedges, you can't anticipate the break. What you have to do on a rising wedge is you've got to let this market roll over, and it hasn't happened yet. So this market right now, until this thing is going to get on the right-hand side of this wedge or roll over and take out a low here at 63.60, that's when the bears finally have control, just for a little bit of a correction. Pull back into here. I mean, we haven't even had like a fib correction, guys. Like this low to high from April, this low, this high, it's like we have still not had any reasonable dip. So
but I think, Chris, I would agree with your first sentiment. The max pain probably is to the upside, because everyone on the retail side keeps saying, "Oh, it can't keep going. It can't keep," And
look at this. And everyone's bearish. They're dead wrong. It's so the sentiment is so bad. It's so bad.
That's why I wonder too. Like, you could play this a couple different ways, but I wonder too if we get more of the melt up in the next week, sell the news on the Fed, get the flush there. I think that can be the 1-2 punch potentially that we see here.
Go ahead, Graham. Sorry.
The data from the S&P futures hedge fund short positions are at all-time highs right now. So on the S&P, so kind of a squeeze. It is max pain to the upside.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get Silas in here too to go over all those positions at some point.
I've been waiting for a pullback, Chris. I told people a few weeks back. I'm like, I think we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. And it just keeps going.
Yep. I am. So the way I'm positioning for some of these pullbacks, as far as like the next, 2 to 4 weeks, is I am, selling premium at the highs. I'm trying to go out, post Fed, because I feel like, typically seasonality wise, it's not the first part of September that's usually the worst part. It's usually the middle or after. And I don't know what that is. It's like the market literally started out with like, oh, the flush in September. Here's the September effect. It's the one month of the year that's like everyone expects it to be bearish in September. It's not, and it hasn't been. In fact, I think September right now is still up over 3%. From the start of the month, we're up like 3% for September already. It's like, I don't know if we hang on to that level. I think we at least neutralize some of those gains, or possibly even turn red. But I think it's going to be probably Fed or after. All of the rate cut stuff has been priced in. I think now the Fed's looking out, maybe 6 cuts by the end of 2026. And, if Jerome Powell is no longer chair, and whoever steps in, whoever Trump's favorites are, they're not going to become like hyper dovish, but I think that the plan is they're clearly stacking the Fed in such a way that the market's going to experience some rate cuts. And typically rate cuts are followed with higher gains. It's at an interesting time at all-time highs, but it's like everyone's thinking about the labor market. I know it's a big deal. It is a big deal. Like, I don't want to see the country lose a bunch of jobs. Yeah. But I also know that Wall Street does not have to represent the economy. Unfortunately, it is the irrational market that we trade and we can make a lot of money with, while it doesn't make any sense to what everyone's feeling out there on Main Street day to day, working for a living, seeing everything more expensive. Life is a struggle. Like, I get it.
Well, not only that, but actually fundamentally, for the first time in history, that they might be inverse. Like before, it was, like I said, in 2008, it was irrational. In 2025, it might be rational. The 30% unemployment might mean that the top 50 companies are just operating with almost no employees at the highest margins anyone's ever seen. So we might actually get a rational divergence at this point that, again, I think we'll pay the piper at some point. I just think you can kick that can down the road much further now than probably you ever have been able to historically.
Yeah, look, none of this is going to be super simple to navigate, but I will say that it is in the US government and the financial markets, Wall Street, some of the biggest, deepest, largest resources in the world. It is in their best interest to keep this party going. Don't take away the punch bowl. The Fed is trying to incorporate, dovishness now because yes, they've had calculated missteps. They raised too quickly. They cut too quickly. What was odd is what they did last year when the Fed cut September and they cut 100 basis points and then totally paused. That is unlike the Fed ever. Usually when they start cutting, they keep cutting. But this whole thing of the inflation genie has been out of the box. They're trying to put it back in, and they've been slow playing the inflation. But what are we seeing? We're looking at rate cuts right now coming next week, and inflation is still ticking higher. The reality is that Jackson Hole, this is really, if you read between the lines with what Powell said, I think that the Fed just changed their 2% inflation target, which was an arbitrary New Zealand metric back in like 1989. That 2% inflation target is subjective. I think right now what the Fed is basically allowing for is acknowledging that we've had inflation readings between 2 and 3%. So what they're allowing for is we can operate in this 2 to 3% inflation window, which means we have had restrictive policy, which means we are okay in the cuts. And I think that's why the reaction was so aggressive during Jackson Hole, and this is why the market continues to show melt-ups. Like if we're going to grow, we actually have to have inflation kind of where it is, or maybe even running a little bit higher so we can still have the growth. We can't squash it. We can't practice austerity because it's going to happen what Liberation Day was, which is you cut off the faucet. So we need money to flow. And globally, it's like money supply has been increasing, which is why we're also seeing higher moving assets. Now, that being said, what's crazy about the markets is the best performing asset this year. And I know individual stocks have taken off, so I'm not saying like individual stocks. I'm saying indexes, but gold has been one of the best performing assets in all of the land. So your Peter Schiffs of the world are probably very happy that they've been right one time in a blue moon. But Bitcoin's still been great. Gold's been great. Silver's been outperforming gold, which has been one of my favorites technically this year. And meanwhile, we're still enjoying the melt up in stocks. So technically speaking here, guys, I've got some strategies here that are just, these are hopefully pretty straightforward if you're familiar with just like a basic debit spread or credit spread. If I wanted to kind of call the top or call the bottom, I'm using strategies like this. If we went into where we are at right now, I wouldn't be surprised. Graham, you said you've been waiting for a correction. So have I. I mean, the fact that we are above this 50-day moving average since May and have not pulled back at all since May, I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised this has not at least tested that 50-day. So Fed or post-Fed, I think by the end of September, if it's not the end of September, certainly in October, I would imagine we're going to hit this, which is around 63.50 right now. That is a nice little drop, man. I mean, that we're talking about a flush of maybe 3.25%. I think once that starts, we might have a high, low, lower, high, lower, low. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think percentage-wise, but I would not be surprised to see like a 3 to 5% correction. I'm still waiting with open arms to kind of scoop it up and buy the dips. But I just think that this correction needs to help people that have missed out on the participating to the upside. Just give us a chance to participate. I mean, I've not missed out. I've been passive through August and September. I've not been super active. I've enjoyed the melt up. I've got, all-time highs in the portfolio for the year. I'm up almost 500K this year. Like, I'm not complaining, but my gosh, man, I could have been way more aggressive. I wish I would have been more aggressive, but it's just, this slow melt up that's been doing really well.
Yeah, it's pretty much in line with what I've been saying. And I've been telling folks looking for a pullback here, looking for a 4 to 5% drop in the market, pretty much in line with what you've said.
Yeah.
But I'm not a bear. I'm still bullish. It's just I don't really want to have a huge position on right now.
Correct.
I want to wait for that to then add a big position.
Yep, I agree. Are you guys actively taking any bear positions at all, or are you just kind of waiting for like buying lower, maybe getting some dips to participate? I'm just curious.
So for me, the way that I do bearish positions is I do those two-way trades where it's just a debit spread on both sides for me. Because I don't want to light money on fire on the put side if we keep getting this melt up. So that's really my big hedge is just, two-way trades or the other ones I do are called profit pairs, put on one related stock to a call on the other side for the same reason. I want to participate if there is upside and have a little bit of protection. I think Graham has done a couple like lighter risk long-term, but I can let him speak to that.
Yeah. Lighter risk, small positions. But I told you guys when I did them, like, these are just, hey, insurance. The reason was, again, I'm not bearish. I've got a lot of stocks that are up huge. I don't want to sell them, sit on the sidelines, pay capital gains, get totally hosed there. So I'm just going to buy some burner. puts on the QQQ. We did an out of the money put debit spread, and it burned. It went to zero.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, there.
I've had one hedge pay this year. One hedge paid through Q1 and through Liberation Day, and then the rest have been pointless and worthless. But I will say this: the hedges that I'm doing now, I've got a hedge out to December that pays potentially 44 to 1. I've got a hedge out to June of next year that pays 25 to 1. So if I need them, they will cover many, many, many hedge losses if I need it. But typically every quarter, or every 6 to 12 months, I'm putting on like a pretty nice setup where I do this for one of my services. That's just an easy way to protect it. I typically risk about 1%. And if I did this quarterly, I'm risking no more than 1%. And if I can gain, 10, 15, 20% the upside, I'll sacrifice that 1% in order to make sure that if we do have a dip or pullback, that I'm at least having some defense in it that pays pretty well. But the market has been surprising. Even, I mean, Nate, you pointed this out that I thought was interesting. Like every time we've gone down for these big corrections and come back up to the all-time highs, the market had some semblance of, hey, we acknowledge that's an all-time high. Maybe we need to kind of stall out. But even through COVID, the market went up above the all-time highs and still flushed down 10%. We haven't seen that here.
No, not even close.
Not even close.
And we've got it. What is the longest pullback that we've had since April? It's like what, 4 days? I mean, it is insanely quick. And so this market has been resilient, hell bent on going higher, and that's part of why I think we might get a squeeze higher, because it's usually the times where you say it's just too much, it's too quick, it's too fast, there's no corrections. It's often those times where then you actually get the rip your face off move, because right now, as bullish as we've been, it's actually been pretty slow the last 2 months. It's been more of a grind. We haven't seen 1% updates stack on top of each other either. So we haven't got like the melt. We've just got like the grind. And so I think kind of everything's on the table right now. Not to be give a political answer and shy away from a prediction here, but I think everything's on the table right now with where we sit. So frankly, kind of a good transition, I guess, into what you're going to talk about. You already talked about the market maker move, how they're going to defend it, not to be directional necessarily on a day in and day out basis. So I think that that's probably a good transition. By the way, if I can take over here for a second before we transition into the exact strategy, which Chris gave you a little bit of a sneak peek there, including the 800 trades that he hasn't had more than a 2 day in a row streak, which is just insane. Sorry, I'm trying to talk.
I was blown away, Chris. At the very start, you showed us a chart where it did get outside of the market maker box, but the next day it faded right back into it. I think that is so cool. I mean, imagine how powerful that would be if you knew that, hey, yesterday it came outside the box, this stage probably coming right back down where it started. You would not be shocked at the open to see a big fade.
And that's also why I've tried to emphasize this so much in the service. It's like, look, as much as I'd like to say we're going to win every day, we have to be confident that a day that we don't win is almost like something weird would have happened. Something odd happened for us not to win that day, but trust the fact that probably the next day we're right back in line where we need to be. So I want Nate to take this just a second, but if I did, let's talk trade size. If I did one contract all the way through, over 3 years, it generated about 17K in profit on just a one contract trade. Wow. Now, I talked about this. If I did like one contract and then I lose and I do two contracts, well, because we don't lose very often, the idea of like doubling and quadrupling and martingale your strategy, number one, that's a recipe for disaster, and you're only one losing streak away from like blowing up your account, which is never fun. So I've never been comfortable with like 2, 4, 8 contracts on just trying to dig myself out of a hole, but rather I don't mind going a losing day to a second contract and then staying with a second contract, because the most I had was 2 in a row. So I went lose 1, lose 2, win 2, and I'm back to 1 again. It just helps me kind of eat through that loss a little bit faster. And typically what we do is I just tell traders, just be willing to trade through it. We lose a day, make sure your risk is contained, and we'll trade the next probably 8, 10, 15 trades in a row for winners. The win streaks we've had have been up into 16 in a row, 20 in a row, 45 in a row. We've had insane win streaks. And so we trade with a lot of confidence. And unfortunately, some people put the profits ahead of the risk when I've had members that have been making like $1,000 a day and they're just crushing it. But then to take on that $1,000 a day profit, they're also risking 5K a day, maybe 7 or 8K a day, and they get blown out on one day and they're like, I don't like the strategy anymore. And so it's not the strategy. It's like you are not comfortable with that risk and you never lost. And all of a sudden now it's the Mike Tyson thing, which is you have a plan to get punched in the mouth. So I'm just trying to tell you, however we trade this, make sure that you can show up and trade with me every single day and we will trade through it and we'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna ask 3 questions here just to kind of prime the pump a little bit. Before I do that, Chris, do you mind sharing? You said you had a pretty aggressive hedge for December. Do you mind just sharing what strikes you have on that?
Sure. Let me get. Let me find it here. So I'm doing a. So I hedge a lot in futures, guys. So I'm in a hedge for ES, which is the S&P futures. I get a little bit more capital efficiency that way, bang for my buck. I went out and I'm using the April low. So it's a way out of the money trade.
Okay.
I did the 4,000 long put by 3,100. And this hedge to me is like, if for whatever reason, and this was obviously taken back in, this has been open for 170 days. So I took this like post-liberation day. But basically, if the market was to melt up this high and fall back down to April lows, I have a trade that cost me about $1,000 that would pay me around $40,000. That is
so obviously not one you're expecting to win. It's a total insurance, burn it up if it doesn't work kind of trade. Okay, cool. Yeah. Just wanted to mention that. All right. Okay. Three questions here. All right. And I need your participation here in the chat. All 550 of you here live with us today. Let me ask the first question. How many of you are members of my overnight options? Give me a yes there in the chat if that's you. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is how many of you would be interested if you are in doubling up on your daily cash flow potential by adding a during the day trade combined with the overnight? So get the overnight and then you get a during the day. Give me a yes on that. And number 3, how many of you, regardless of the first 2 questions, could use an extra $100 a day hitting your account with a strategy that just plain works? I mean, Chris talked about the numbers, 800 trades, live trades, no theoretics here, no back testing, no curve fitting, just plain Jane works in all different market conditions using the power of that. Give me a yes there in the chat as well.
And Nate, I just love that concept, especially right now where, we're thinking, you don't want to, maybe we want to wait on the sidelines or we want to, not have huge position sizes. Well, instead of just seeing a 0 return in your account every day, add up $100 a day. That's going to make a difference over time.
Yeah, well, that is a massive flood of yeses, which of course I expected. But see, a lot of you guys may not actually realize that Chris played a huge part in my overnight option strategy. And I'll show it to you. I just gave this presentation on Tuesday, and I'll show you. There you are, Chris. I gave you credit in my presentation. On September 9th, I was sitting on a panel with a well-known money manager. There you are, Chris, in the top corner. I gave you full credit here. And he shared some data that I had seen before, but didn't really have the full light bulb moment. And he warned folks that trading during the day was a big mistake because there's basically no money to be made on those big directional days. And then he showed what I think is the most shocking chart in the entire stock market. I mean, this still to me is the most mind-blowing thing that's actually a reality of our stock market, which if you guys haven't seen this one, I've showed it a million times, but the orange line is basically what happens overnight. That's all the off hours of the stock market. And then the blue line is the open hours of the stock market. It basically just shows you think you're making money because the stock market moves during the day. It actually doesn't. It moves overnight. That's where all the potential is. If you just ignored the market during the day and never even owned S&P from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day, you'd still be in the same situation because the overnight move is what actually happens. So my members and I have to give you credit for helping leverage that phenomenon. Chris, tip of the cap to you for all those people who said yes. And then it's also been a ton of fun to see you flip that situation on its head during the day and take advantage of it in a massive way with one of the best live track records I have ever seen. And despite my youthful glow, I have been doing this a while and seeing a lot of live track records. So I'm super excited to jump in here to this. All of you guys who said yes in the chat, I think you'll love what Chris is doing because it really is just taking advantage of the reality of the market in a way that plain works. And the live trades have been off the chart. He gave you a little sneak peek of that. So, Chris, are you ready to jump in, dive in, show people what this is all about, and hopefully get some people targeting $100 a day or $200 a day or $400 a day as early as tomorrow?
Absolutely. And this is a fantastic 1-2 punch, Nate, the way we're putting this together. I love this.
All right. So obviously you guys know the drill. Got to start with the fun legal stuff. We develop tools and strategies. None of them can guarantee the future. Always risk of loss. Chris talked a lot about when he loses and what that looks like. Past performance certainly doesn't guarantee future results. We're looking at Chris's live trades, hundreds and hundreds of them. The win rate has been 89% with an average return of 13% over a 1-day hold time, because yes, these is leveraging that same power of the 0 DTE that Chris talked about. And just to be super clear, in case that was not clear enough, obviously Chris is going to give you a whole bunch of examples of how this works, how powerful it is, live trades. It doesn't mean that it wins 100% of the time, guys. He just shared with you. He has some losers. He expects to win the next day. Sometimes there's 2 in a row. That has happened, once or twice in 800 trades. But that doesn't mean, okay, risk the farm because tomorrow's going to hit. Hopefully you guys are smart enough and have been in this room long enough to know that, but we just want to be super clear. All right, let's jump in. If you guys don't know me, I'm Nate Tucci. Today, I brought Chris on to show you a trade idea that could be worth $100 or more by the next morning every day. In fact, if things go as we expect, it should hit your account actually automatically within about the first 90 minutes of the day. All you do is set a position like Chris does every day at 9:35 a.m., let the market tick a few points in either direction. We literally don't care. And as long as nothing crazy happens, we should see $100 or more hit the account within the first 90 minutes of the day. Now, I understand that sounds a little crazy because I just said it doesn't even matter which direction it goes, maybe even too basic to actually work. But let's just take you through a couple trades. Here's one from August 14th. Anyone using the trade would have set the position up at 9:35 a.m., maybe spent the next 90 minutes at the gym. Chris might have done that, but I wouldn't have done that. And then came back to see $162 sitting in your account. Next day, Friday, August 15th, same thing. Notice the chart looks very different, but the trade is the same. Maybe hit the trails for a quick ride and came back 90 minutes later, this time $225 fully automatically sitting in the account. Then you've got Monday, the next trade day, August 18th. Once again, set up the trade at 9:35 a.m. Maybe go for a hike there in the mountains where Chris is. Come back, $125 about an hour later. So $512 over 3 very different trading days, 125, 225, 162. Keep in mind, these are not from a back test. These are not pulled from a theoretical study. These were real trades found and taken by our guest today. In fact, over the last year, he's posted 400 of these daily payouts, actually more if you go all the way back, more than any other trader I know. I mean, Chris has more winners over the last year than any trader that I'm aware of on the planet, which says something because we interact with a lot of different traders. Like July 7th, we could have popped into a trade around 9:35, maybe spent the morning at the range getting dialed in. I played yesterday, by the way, Chris. Played really good on the front, horrible on the back, but we won't talk about that. Came back 90 minutes later to take an extra $149 in the account. What about the 21st? We set up the trade again, 9:35 a.m. Come back 90 minutes later, $298 in profits, sitting there having no idea what the market actually would have been doing. Now, we don't have to time the entry. We don't have to time the exit at all. And by the way, you didn't even have to come back and close the trade manually. The returns would have deposited automatically into the account. Now, I'll admit something like that really shouldn't even be possible, but Chris isolates a unique anomaly that shows up every day in the options market. And I do mean every single day. It allows anyone to target $100 or more each day the market is open. Now, let me assure you that's not a silly gimmick. This anomaly has been studied by Columbia Law, University of Syracuse, even the Federal Reserve has studied this, yet most folks just have no idea how to leverage it. But today, that all changes because our guest, Chris, has promised to share the entire secret behind this daily profit strategy. In fact, he already gave you a sneak peek. And then tomorrow, he'll actually walk us through the brand new trade, the one that sets up tomorrow morning at the same time, targeting upwards of $100. But not just that, he's going to show us how to scale those daily trade ideas up to target an extra $200, $500, even $1,000 per day, like some of his students have already scaled it up to. So if that sounds exciting, well, welcome to the Daily Profit Play, one of the coolest, most unique, and just frankly, best strategy that just plain works that we have in our entire ecosystem. And thanks for being here and checking this out. Now, again, if this is your first live event, I'm sure most of you know Chris and I, but if not, my name's Nathan Tucci. Thanks for being here. I'm the senior income strategist at Prosperity Pub, Trading Pub, and the New Money Crew. And over the last few years, I've had the privilege of producing some of our firm's most popular income strategies. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar. One of them has a 76%. One of them has an 80%, a little higher now. One of them has an 81% win rate. However, the daily profit play, I'm just going to give you a spoiler, has a better win rate than all of those. And it piqued my interest because the 89% accuracy across hundreds of live, again, real time, real money, live trades issued. But more importantly, it has all the attributes of a strategy that I'd love to trade myself. Insane accuracy, limited risk, very important, really short hold times, quick execution, affordable options, and most importantly, the chance to target an extra $100 or more every single day the market is open. Now, the man behind these daily profit plays, as you probably know by now, is Chris Pulver. He's arguably one of the most innovative option traders on the planet. If you guys have been in his sessions, you've seen the way that he does ratio trades and collar trades and two-way trades, all the kind of stuff that he does. He really knows the options market as well as anyone I've ever met. At his former hedge fund, he managed multi-million-dollar book on behalf of private clients. And today he's still managing, several $1 million on behalf of friends and family. He's traded through the dot-com bubble, the housing bubble, the great financial crisis, and every major market event over the last 25 years. And my favorite part, of course, is that he's even a certified golf instructor for the PGA. That's the real reason I wanted to bring Chris in. But since joining our team, he's quickly become one of the most sought-out traders in our company's history. He's shown our traders 400 unique winners with an accuracy rate greater than 89%. On average, that's more than one winning trade per day for an entire year straight. That's something that I don't think anyone else in our company can quite claim to have done. And that's why I've asked Chris to join us. He's going to hand us the complete profit play strategy and show us how to implement it starting, of course, tomorrow morning, because we've got another market session headed our way. Now, unlike most trading strategies out there, the daily profit play is actually not dependent on market direction, not at all. The market can tick higher, it can tick lower, it can be completely dead flat, but each of those scenarios offers the chance to collect $100 or more within the first 90 minutes of each day. So Chris, with that long introduction to hopefully set the stage in a big way, why don't you actually start walking us through how these profit plays work?
Well, of course, Nate, and I'd love to, and thank you for that intro. And before we get too far along, I want to be really clear with everyone. Today, you are going to see a lot of winning trades. As Nate mentioned, we've closed over 400 winning trades in the last year alone. That's with 89% accuracy, but that does not mean that losses won't happen. If the market does something very out of the ordinary, it is possible to lose, okay? So if you decide to trade with us tomorrow morning, make sure you do not over leverage yourself, because finding success in the stock market is not about closing one big trade every once in a while. It's about doing one thing consistently and watching the results compound. And that's what the daily profit play aims to do. It's a basic trade that anyone can implement any day of the week. It does not matter if we're in a bull market. It doesn't matter if we're in a bear market or a recession. All we have to do is set the position up around 9:35 in the morning, let the market tick a few points in either direction. And as long as nothing extreme happens, we should see about $100 or more hit our account within the next 90 minutes. Now, it's been proven to work in the best of times and more importantly, during the worst of times. And that is not an exaggeration. Okay, for example, let's jump back to March of 2025. If you don't remember that, that was the worst stretch of trading since the pandemic. Over the course of 33 trading days, the market lost $11 trillion.
Crazy. That
That was one of the most aggressive downturns in the history of the stock market. According to Fidelity, the average 401k was down $127,000. Now, if you're trading options, good luck, because typically a long option, $1,000 would have almost been worthless on any direction you took during that window. So, however, a $1,000 position into the daily profit play would have posted a very different outcome. Okay. In fact, during the month of March, one of the craziest, most chaotic months we had, we posted 42 winning trades with just 4 losses. That's a 91% win rate during the worst month of the year. Okay. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to take you through all 40 plus trades, but some of our best include here. $333 on March 3rd, and then $290 shortly after, $183, $101, $136, $149, $162, $273, $162, $212, and $169 all through that month of March.
Yeah, and if people notice, those candles look very different. That is a very different back and forth. So it's incredible, especially considering there were 29 additional winners that you didn't even mention. in that same stretch. So if you guys took each of those trades, again, we're not talking 50 grand in each, we're talking $1,000 in each, you would have compounded that to $6,706. By the way, that does include winners and losers over that stretch. And here's what's really compelling. Chris is not the only one making these trades. It'd be one thing if this was just kind of his private track record. Each morning, he shares them live with hundreds of students. In fact, one of his top traders wrote in saying that he made $67,000, Chris, with you in about 90 days trading these.
That's right. And that's Larry. He's been crushing it, and he's got some pretty big accounts. So I just don't want the numbers to fool you, but that's an incredible return. And for some folks, I mean, $67,000 in just a couple months could be absolutely life-changing. That's a huge chunk of profit. But please know that particular trader does have a fairly large account. He's trading in the 6 and 7 figures. But here's what's cool. You don't need 6 figures to target these daily profit plays. You don't need decades of trading experience. You don't need to guess which direction the market might head. With just a small trading account, we can target $100 or more each morning. And we have the chance to scale this up to $200 a day, $500 a day, and even $1,000+ a day, which I have several people doing. Now, compared to your typical trading strategies, this is a lot less stressful. We don't have to time our entry. We don't have to fight against time decay. We don't even have to close the trade manually. As long as the market ticks a few points in either direction, we should see a daily profit hit our accounts usually within about 90 minutes. And that's really why I'm here today, because traditional trading can be really hard. There are so many variables you have to get right. You have to time the entry. You have to time the exit. You might have to get direction right, okay? But with this new type of trade, we don't have to worry about any of that. And I'll explain that in just a second. But the reason that we've won 400 trades over the last year is because all we do is set up the trade by 9:35 and let the market take care of the rest. For example, let's jump back to the middle of May. Now, in this case, the market didn't lose $11 trillion. But trading conditions were far from ideal. We had huge gaps all over the place. We had news surrounding the trade war. It created a stretch of very volatile days. Now, most traders typically avoid this type of volatility or have no idea what to do. But with our trade, it didn't matter all that much because the market can tick higher. The market can tick lower. It can even chop sideways. And yet each scenario offered the chance to collect $100 or more within the first 90 minutes of the opening bell. So for example, here's what happened on May 20th. Despite being a choppy day, the market finished slightly lower. So typically directional traders would do their best to avoid the chop or they'd be losing. But with daily profit play, it didn't matter because as long as we set the trade up by 9:35, we would have hit our daily profit. And in that case, it would have been worth an extra $164 about 90 minutes later. Now that's not bad. Now let's jump to the next day. In this case, the market opened flat, but eventually closed in the red. Anyone with money on the line that day, especially bullish, would have posted a losing day. However, anyone using our daily profit play would have seen an automatic $111 hit their account around 90 minutes later. What about the next day, June 22nd? In this case, the market drifted sideways and finished slightly higher on the day. Even if you were right on direction, time decay and the premium on being long would have eaten into your returns. So with our daily trade, we didn't have to worry about that at all. In fact, our traders would have seen an extra $342 hit their account within 90 minutes of the opening bell. And the next day, June 23rd, it's the same story. Another $104 within about 90 minutes just after the open. Let's look at one more together. In this case, the market sold off and finished 53 points lower, okay? Anyone that traded normal call options most likely got smoked. But anyone using the daily profit play would have seen an extra $234 hit their account well before their lunch hour.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to see all these different examples. Despite the market posting 5 very different outcomes, your trade posted 5 different winners. And so anyone who started with $1,000, again, we're not talking about 50 grand, you would have basically doubled it over a handful of trades. They would have walked away with about $955 after just 5 quick trades. If you double your starting stake, well, of course, you double your profits, looking at about $1,910. Now, I don't want to sound cheesy, but I mean, $1,900 over letting the market really do whatever it wanted. That's pretty nice. That's money could be used for, happy hour, weekend getaway. Of course, I would be using it for golf as I tend to. But, a lot of people in here might say, hey, that's a mortgage payment for me if I could have a $1,900 stretch, or maybe your next Amazon purchase, which is certainly what my wife would have ended up using that $1,900 on. But it's kind of like having that side hustle, not a lot of work, works every day, but without putting in the extra hours.
Yeah, and Nate, that's only partly true because despite our win rate being upwards of 89%, we still have to set up the trade, and the market still needs to play its part. But ultimately, that's what we are striving for, and that's what we're relying on. Daily profit play was designed to work in tandem with your life, so not alter it, right? That means if you have a day job, don't quit. If you're saving for retirement, don't stop saving. That's not what this strategy is about. This is using a small portion of our current investments to target daily profit each morning. It's not going to make you a millionaire overnight. It won't allow you to retire tomorrow, but the goal is to target about $100 or more each morning in hopes to make life just a little bit easier. Now, if you want to target more or less, you absolutely can. This is very scalable. We have top traders of all ages, all different skill levels, and all different account sizes that are following me every day in the daily profit play. We have traders like Jim that's targeting about $100 a day. Look at that track record, 26, 2-1. We have Drazen, who is up $200 a day. Matt, who did $440 in a day. We have guys like William, who's pulling in more than $1,000 per day. Look at that.
Wow,
I consistently pull in 1 to 2K, no hype, just consistent with risk management on a 40K account. Stick with it, right? That's awesome. It doesn't matter what struggles you've had in the past. It doesn't matter if you've been struggling in trading, lost your last 10 trades in a row. Our daily strategy was designed to target $100 or more, regardless of how the market moves. All we have to do is set up a trade around 9:35 a.m. each morning.
Yeah, and it seems like you're sharing the strategy at a very convenient time, something we've talked about a ton in Opening Playbook is that great divergence. The economy for regular people has been very taxing, weakening dollar, trouble in the Middle East, tariff backlash, nuclear crisis, and just a ton of other things. And probably the biggest thing, just the plain hard cost of everything in life right now.
Yeah, and Nate, you're exactly right. And look, a lot of folks that I talk to are scared. I mean, family and friends, savings rates are down, interest rates are up, and many people are just struggling to cover the most basic needs. And in my opinion, an extra $100 a day would help move the needle for most people, but it would probably require a full-time job or a part-time job to just make $100 a day. Most of us don't have that type of time.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't have time for a part-time job like most people. I have kids, probably more kids than most people, to be fair. I have a full-time job. I have a couple full-time jobs, I would say sometimes, between trading and trying to run our business, and plenty of responsibilities that need my attention every day. So working a second job, definitely not an option for me, and I'm sure most of the people listening to me. But with the daily profit play, we're talking about $100 or more each morning without needing all that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why don't you walk us through? Obviously, the big thing is, okay, how do we start doing this tomorrow?
Yeah, and so let's do this. So right now, I like to remind everyone that we have not been perfect. All right, about 10% of our trades have gone against us. Now, with the strategy, there is bound to be both winners and losers. That's the nature of trading, but we're going to trade through it. But in our case, we've won about 8 times more than we've lost. Okay, and that's not because we're doing anything overly special. We're just simply aligning our trade with the daily expectations of the stock market. And more specifically, like I said earlier, with market makers. You see, no one can grasp the market better throughout the trading day of what's going to happen than a market maker. Their entire job, their existence, is to forecast the day's price action and quote options accordingly. Now, in order to align with them, we use a special metric called the expected range. It's a volatility-based range that represents the market's expected high and low for the day. Now, the way it works is actually quite simple. Each morning, the market makers will give us an expected high representing the day's highest possible price, but also the expected low representing the day's lowest possible price. And you see this range accounts for pretty much all major events that would move the market in either direction for that particular day in expiration, whether it's good news or bad news, it's economic data, it's global tensions, or any other thing that could unfold throughout the trading day. But here's the thing, unless something extreme happens, the markets rarely move outside of that expected range. So in other words, it almost always stays somewhere in the middle. And that's where our strategy begins, because we don't have to care what direction the market moves. We're not betting on it to move higher. We're not betting on it to move lower. We don't even care if it does nothing at all, okay? We need it to just stay within the range, typically the first 90 minutes of the day. And as long as that happens, we should collect our daily profit. For example, let's take a look here for June 4th. On that particular day, the market maker set the top at 60.20 and set the bottom at 59.35. Now, in that case, we were expecting the market to stay somewhere in the middle. And sure enough, they were right. The market stayed range bound all day. And for us, it was good enough to collect our daily profit. In fact, anyone following along would have seen an extra $197 hit their account within the first 90 minutes of the trading day. You see, it doesn't matter if the market ticks higher, lower, or stays completely flat. All that matters is that it stays within the range, which happens more than 90% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, pretty clever to use their actual move kind of against them, an extra $197, just because the market stayed within that range. But I know that you all obviously took this trade with your own money as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I take all these trades. I've taken every trade that I'm sharing with you today. In fact, I've taken all 400 plus trades in the tracker that have been winners. In primary, this is the primary way that I generate daily income from the stock market. In a perfect world, we can start by targeting $100 a day, and you can slowly scale this up that we can get $200 a day or $500 a day or even $1,000+ per day. And the best part is the trade will work the exact same way. As long as the market stays within the expected range for usually that first 90 minutes, we should see our daily profit. So let's look at another example here on June 25th. Top of the range was set at 61.25. The bottom of the range was set at 60.80. Now, as long as the market stayed in between, we had a chance to profit. And sure enough, the market stayed perfectly within the confines of that expected range. Anyone who followed along would have seen a $470 profit hit their account before 11 a.m. Eastern time. Now, that's really the secret to all this, right? The market makers are smart. They set the range wide enough to contain almost every major market movement for the day, which includes swing highs and swing lows, and even surprise events that might happen during the day. Here's an example we took on June 13th. The high of the range was set at 60.50, and the low of the range was set at 59.60. That is a pretty large expected range,
but
that's
points there.
By design, okay? That's meant to capture most major movements that happen through the day. In this case, we know the market would likely stay somewhere in the middle. And sure enough, as again, that's exactly what happened. Anyone who took the trade with us would have seen roughly $100 hit their account within about 90 minutes. But notice what actually happened here. The market sold off at the open, rallied midday, and sold off again. In this case, it was an Israeli airstrike, but it never moved outside of the expected range. And that's why our win rate is upwards of 89%. We know the range accounts for most major swings that happen throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, I love this approach. It makes so much sense to me, especially just to get in, to get kind of reset day after day, because the market makers rarely ever get it wrong. The only way that they get paid is if that market stays within the range. If it moves outside the range, then they're going to have a whole bunch of exposure that they obviously don't want to have for those options they sold outside the range. That's why they'll do anything in their power to defend those levels like we were talking about.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And a lot of times market makers will push back the market within the daily range. So for example, here's a trade on June 2nd. The top of the range was 59.45. The bottom of the range was set at 58.55. And as long as the market stayed in between, we had a chance to profit. And sure enough, the market stayed perfectly within the confines of that daily range. Now, anyone who took a trade with us would have collected another daily profit winner. But notice how the market bounced off the bottom part of that range. In that case, that's market makers that are likely defending the integrity of that range for the day. So in other words, they wanted to make sure that the market stayed within the expected range. And thankfully they did, because it's worth another $150 for us for a nice little winner.
Yeah, you never seem to disappoint with these ideas. I mean, anyone who took each of those last 4 trades, again, we're not talking about crazy money, $1,000 starting stake, $950 in profit. If you double that, double your profit, $1,900. And, that's a meaningful chunk of change, but it's really not the most impressive part of the strategy, because if you look through all of the trades, and this is June, again, not exactly an easy month to trade. If you guys remember, you had 32 winners, just 2 losing trades. Now, that's an insane feat to do in any month. I mean, I don't know of any traders who went 32 and 2 in June, but when you're not 100% reliant on direction, it makes it, make a lot more sense. Let's walk through each week here just in June, just to kind of give you an idea. So week 1, 10-0. That's a crazy week. Week 2, 5-2. Then week 3, 7-0. And then week 4, 9-0 throughout June. Then just 1 win there on the last day of the month to cap it off. So total profit, $4,575. That's like a 450% net ROI on 1K. Now, take that over the course of an entire year. We're going to get, like Chris talked about, 400 trading opportunities. 2 years, maybe 800 trading opportunities. 5 years, you're going to have 2,000 different trades over the course of that time. The sky is the limit. And all you're doing is setting it up over and over and over again each day, which brings me to the profit play that Chris is going to share with us live tomorrow morning. If all goes according to plan, no surprise, you probably know by now, you're going to look to make about $100 or more within the first 90 minutes of the day. Now, again, we're not going to guarantee tomorrow's a winner, right? Obviously, the market has, crazy market movements. We don't know. Please do not over leverage yourself. But if you'd like to join and get in on the very next opportunity, which will be right after the market opens tomorrow, it's all part of this daily profit play that Chris does. Is kind of his flagship service every single day, an opportunity to make money from the market.
Yep, that's exactly right. And this unique strategy was designed to help us target about $100 a day or more each and every morning without needing to trade in any particular direction. As long as the market stays within the expected range for the first 90 minutes of the day, we should collect our daily profit. Since our inception, It's been a massive success. We have seen top traders of all skill levels, all different account sizes thrive during some of these crazy conditions. Here's Lynn that started out with $4,000, has added $15,000 of profit to that, now making about $1,000 a day with a 90% win rate. Here's Randy. I've had 176 winners, 20 losses, gross profit $56,000. Randy's actually over 200 trades winner right now. Here's Maddie, just started about a week ago. I haven't lost on yet, made $695 just today on it. Here's David E, 2380 gross super day. I mean, Dave makes like $1,000 a day on a lot of his trades. Here's Ken, 16 wins, 1 loss since I started. You know, again, Chris is great at coaching, explaining manage your risk. I do this live each and every morning. Here's David S, the best program to belong to. I've only had 1 loss since joining Daily Profit Play. It was small and manageable. It came on a day in a huge move. Literally the rest of the days were all winners. Great program. Love that from David. WJB, I have not lost 1 trade in Daily Profit program. Sure, I might have to wait for it to close, but it works better than anything I've seen. In total, we've won 400 times, over 400 times, with an 89% accuracy. Now, anyone who invested
this number is crazy, Chris.
$1,000, so $1,000 in each trade would be looking at $61,000 in trading profits for that 400 plus trades with me. Now, keep in mind that's happened over 12 months. Okay, a few of our very best members were getting there even faster. Here's Larry again. $67,000 in 90 days. He's actually over 6 figures in earnings on this one. The best of all is we can target our next Daily Profit Play starting tomorrow. Okay. I'll be hosting a live trade workshop at 9 a.m. My plan is to walk you through the strategy and show you how to set up the trade. We'll even do some Q&A and make sure everything makes sense. And at 9:35, we'll jump into our first Daily Profit Play together. I'll give you everything you need to follow. I'll post it in Telegram. I'll even share my screen, walk it through step by step. But here's the thing. The live trade workshop is not just a one-time event. I host these trades 5 days a week, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time. You are more than welcome to attend, but also know that this isn't a requirement. Okay. If you just want the alerts and the trades that I'm taking, I'll post them inside your Daily Profit Play members only Telegram channel. This includes the ticker that we're trading, the options criteria, the trade instructions, how I'm taking the trade from start to finish. All you have to do is read it and decide to follow along, and you get that in real time. Now, you can expect at least 1 alert, pretty much always posted around the same time, but it's not uncommon to see even more. And here's the beauty of the whole thing. We're not bouncing around from ticker to ticker. We're not flipping through dozens of charts. We are trading the exact same ticker at the exact same time each and every day. So if you are new to trading, you can learn how to set up these trades each and every morning.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've been, with you now, I guess about 11 months going through these, 12 months seeing these trades. And I think we've had people of every age, every skill level get in there, do it live with you every day and figure it out. You don't need a degree in finance. You don't need any special skills. You don't need to be a market wizard. Basically, what we're doing with Chris is we're aligning our trade with the expectations of the market makers. And as long as it stays within their range, basically as long as they're right, we should see that daily profit hit. For example, let me give you one from July 22nd. Top of the range, 64.30. Bottom of the range, 63.70 there, or 62.70. In this case, the market stayed range bound all day long. You'll notice it actually made a 0 net return during the day, which, by the way, is more common than you realize. But it didn't matter one bit that the market moved nothing. It was still good enough to grab a nice daily profit play, $282. So anyone following along would have seen that hit right around 11 a.m. in this case. Open the trade around 9:35 a.m. That one automatically hit the target right around 11 a.m.
Yep, Nate, you said it perfectly. So obviously that's a nice payday, especially consider we're only needing about $1,000 on these trades. But let's say you doubled your starting stake, that payout would have been worth an extra $564. Now, if you put in more, let's say you're willing to throw $5K at it per day, that's worth, just for a single day winner, $1,410. And it's with daily opportunities like this that it's easy to see why the new annual membership for Daily Profit Play starts at $21.97. Nate, that's you. That's look, it's a great deal, but it includes at least 250 different trading opportunities, Telegram access, the trade tracker, the Daily Profit Play video course, masterclasses, hundreds of live workshops and live sessions, the Daily Profit Play handbook, and other big time bonuses that I haven't even mentioned yet. But today I'm doing something extra special. You see, all the returns we've shown today were based on about $1,000 starting stake. And that's what's led to gains to $164, $225, even $342 in a single day. Now, to help you get started, I'm going to slash $1,000 off of the retail price. Now, my hope is that you use that $1,000 credit towards tomorrow's new trading opportunity.
Yeah, well, that's very generous of you. And I don't say that lightly, guys, because you have to realize Chris is investing absurd amounts of his time to deliver this service every day live with you in the trenches. So for him to give value like that really is just a discount on his time. So anyone who joins today, just to be super clear, will not pay the $21.97, right?
That is correct. Instead, you get the $1,000 credit. We're going one-time payment of $1,197. Now, given the challenges we've seen in the economy, the stock market, and our day-to-day lives, I think that the daily profit play could help relieve some of the financial fears that folks are experiencing today. In fact, I wanted to make price so affordable that you could have the chance to cover it in just a handful of trades. So if you'd like to join us tomorrow and every day, every trading day moving forward, you want to get your credit card ready now and jump into that $11.97. And here's why. Everyone who joins today during this webinar will also get access to my personal profit play indicator. This is the very same indicator that I use to find an issue each daily profit play. Not only will it plot the daily range on the chart, but it also helps you select the trade as well. It has played a huge role in our success day to day. Now, over the next few days, I'll show you how to put this on your charts, teach you how to use it. And I could charge a la carte for this indicator, maybe an extra, $500 or $1,000 for the indicator. But to help you get started, I'll include it in your membership at no cost. But please keep in mind that this is only for folks who join today. So if you want to trade with us tomorrow, you want to trade with me tomorrow, plus get access to the profit play indicator, go to this link, prosperitypub.com/100. You can click the link in the chat that just got dropped. Also, you can see the details on the membership. Look, if you'd like to talk to somebody live, we have a customer service team standing by. Give us a call, 904-706-3537. Now, everyone that joins will receive the daily profit play indicator. You'll also receive the $1,000 discount that could be used towards tomorrow's new opportunity. And over the last year, we've logged over 400 daily winners with just 48 losses. That's an 89% win rate on nearly 450 live issued trades that we do it every single day. And please keep in mind, that happened during one of the worst stretches of trading we have seen since the pandemic. So anyone who started with just $1,000 per trade per day would be looking at over $61,000 in profit. So if you'd like to join me tomorrow and every day moving forward, there's the link, prosperitypub.com/100. Now, we'll take some questions here in just a minute, but let me address a couple of common ones. These come up in almost every webinar. Question number one, what size trading account do I need to start? Okay, for this type of strategy, you do not need $10, $20, $30, $50,000 to get started, okay? Many of the members have started with just a few $1,000s and they've scaled this over time. So for example, Lynn started with $4,000, learned the process, is growing this account now by almost $1,000 a day on like a $20,000 to $25,000 account. So it can be scaled. Question number two, how many trades per week should we expect? On average, we're taking about one trade per day. That's not uncommon to see as many as 3 or 4. I'm in this market all day, okay? So example, look what happened on August 20th. Despite being a very wild and choppy day, we went 3 for 3 with daily profit play. The first winner was $250. The second winner was $55. The third winner was $96. We close all 3 of those out. That's $401 of trading profits on the day. This question comes up a ton. What about pattern day trading? Okay, I've got a couple of easy answers. Technically, as a pattern day trader, okay, you get 3 trades per week if your account with margin is under 25K. Now, I want to say something really quickly on this. I think that in Q1, Q2 of 2026, pattern day trading goes away. I've got some pretty high resources at Tasty Trade. They've been working with the CBOE, the CME, the SEC. I think pattern day trading, we should be looking forward to it going away by 2026 for retail traders, which I think is a huge win. But there are workarounds you can take. Literally, in the first week of the service, Nate, I had one trader that said, okay, Chris, I got an account for this broker and an account for this broker. Right. I trade here 2 days, I trade here 3 days, and they never get flagged. So that's an easy workaround for daily profit play. But at least you also have 3 days a week. I mean, I have my fiance trained on this strategy. She trades it on Mondays and Wednesdays.
There you go. Perfect.
That's it. So it works. So if you're brand new to this, I think, getting a couple trades in per week is perfect to get the ball rolling. But, there are some workarounds to that pattern day trading. I am optimistic that by 2026, it goes away. I mean, Nate, I know you've got a system for your gambling, but I think for pattern day trading, it should go away, right? Yeah. Okay. What ticker are we actually trading? Next question. We only focus on SPX. I traded NDX. I've traded SPY. I've traded futures. I focus on SPX because it's the ticker that represents the S&P 500. We have a huge tax benefit. You essentially get the 60-40 split of long-term, short-term, and there's also cash settled, zero risk of assignment. Yep. Okay. So what platform does the indicator work on? I put this indicator on TradingView, which you can connect your Tasty Trade account to. I'm also getting the Tasty Trade team. Hopefully their chart platform will do this to put in their charts, but I use TradingView every single day. And I know a lot of our members also have Thinkorswim platforms. So TradingView will have the indicator. Thinkorswim has a platform. Those are in your classrooms right now to download with a how-to video. does it matter which brokerage you have? No. I mean, you have the daily profit indicator for most of what we see a lot of our members have. How do you install the indicator? We've added install links and instructional videos in your members area, and I'm happy to also show you this in the master classes too. Setup time is just a couple of minutes, no issues there. If you need any assistance, we have a team that's always standing by to walk you through that as well. Just hit profit today, by the way, Nate. It is 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Just hit some profit. I love that on daily profit play. So just like clockwork, it took us 2 hours today instead of 90 minutes. But pretty good stuff. Now, our customer service team is always in a live session from 10 a.m. to 1 to answer your questions. If they can't answer that, they will hit me up in real time and I can answer it along the way. What type of account permissions do you need to enter these trades? We get this question a lot as well, Nate. Tasty Trade, it's basically level 3, but it's called the works. Robinhood level 3, Schwab level 2 or 3, Interactive Brokers level 3. And
obviously my answer on this one, Chris, is always, I personally think you should have that level anyway, because why would you let a broker determine what strategies you're allowed to trade? If you're serious about this, I personally think, again, just my personal opinion, obviously you have to make all the decisions, but I think it's insane not to have all the permissions available to you to make the decisions that you want in your brokerage account.
Yes, and we also have a quick guide that can get you there. I think Nate would agree with me. Here's the secret phrase you need for your investor profile. You want to grow and speculate on your account aggressively, and you have years in the market. If you can express you have 5+ years of experience and you're looking to grow and speculate on your account, they will give you level 2, level 3 permissions almost automatically. The one thing they might restrict you from is they're not going to let you sell a naked call, or they're not going to let you sell a naked put unless you don't have the cash to back it up. That's about the only way. So look, if you haven't clicked the link, prosperitybub.com/100, go ahead and do that now and bring up the order page.
Hey, I just want to jump in and say that guide that you just mentioned is in the links underneath the presentation, in the announcement section. If you scroll down, there's the link to the guide to getting level 2 and 3 or 4 option permissions are in there.
All right, now we got this question too, almost like, is it redundant? But I think the numbers speak for themselves. 400 live trades, real money trades. Chris has taken every single one of them, 89% accuracy. So if you guys want to try it for 14 days, you're going to get a whole bunch of trades in 14 days. You're going to get a whole bunch of live classes. This is not like, 14 days, you're going to get one trade. You're going to get 12 classes with Chris and a whole bunch of trades. And, if you're not happy with it, that's fine. No problem. He's not going to hold you hostage, obviously. But you'll see, I think, not just from Chris, but all the students in there kind of championing on, helping you that the edge on this, using that market maker move, it's about as significant of a daily edge as you're going to get. $226, $169, $219, $530, $238. So if you have not joined yet, that link is in there. They post in the chat. It's in the announcements. It should be in the banner. When you do that, click the link. That's going to give you access to everything in there, including, access to the session tomorrow. Hopefully you'll be like Randy. He said he closed his 100th winner with a 90% win rate. Maybe you'll get into the 100 club over the next 150 days or so. Dave, 24 in a row. Don, 90.7%. He's beating you by a little bit there, Chris. Dan, who said he covered the cost in 10 trading days. Or Bose, who said he's at $1,500 a day. That's insane. And then we had Larry, who said he's averaging now, this is an updated one, $2,299 over a 100-day span. What a crazy run that is for a regular, just retail trader who probably never had any idea that something like this was available every single day in the market until he found you. We had LDM $155,000 since May 21st. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff, Chris, when you really just stick to a system that has an edge like that and can repeat it. So again, that next opportunity is tomorrow. If you guys want to get in on the action, prosperitypub.com/100, you're going to get as much of Chris's time as any service you'll ever see in terms of someone being willing just to trade with you in the trenches, train you every day, walk through it, answer your questions. I will say, like Chris was just mentioning, it's level 2, level 3 trading. So if you're brand new, you probably got to attend a couple sessions and not really know what you're doing for a little while. But Chris is with you every day to walk you through that, answer your questions. It's not like, hey, I hope I figured it all out in the first master class because then I'm on my own. It's okay if it takes you 3 weeks to get the hang of it. If you're brand new and you want to go through it and you want to see how it works and you want to ask questions, Chris is there with you every day. Plus, he has some bonus training material that we didn't even talk about that are inside his members area to take advantage of. So if this is right for you, which, I think $100 a day for most people every day, clean slate. Chris, one of the things that I love about this, by the way, we didn't really get to dive into a whole lot. Some days or some weeks you get these runs where the market's really hectic, right? It bounces up, then it bounces down. Then you have like a gap down and it looks really ugly. And then you have another gap down and someone says, oh, geez, over the last 4 days, the market's down 5%. For most people, that's a brutal week. For you, the market gaps down doesn't affect the trade at all. You just reset up the trade in the morning with the new market maker move. It doesn't matter at all that the market went crazy, overnight or anything in between.
Exactly. Every day is literally a clean slate, which is kind of my favorite part because all of the worry, all the overnight, all the risk, all the uncertainty, it doesn't matter. You just show up and trade the day. And so my saying is really, we show up and win the day. We win the day. We win the day. And look, I mean, winning 90% of our trades, it feels amazing. If honestly, Nate, I think this is a strategy that if I was only winning 70 or 60% of my trades, I wouldn't love it as much. But the fact that it's like a losing day, you can almost look at every day and say, that was kind of weird. That really shouldn't have happened. And that's true. If you manage risk the right way, an outlier type day is we're probably going to win tomorrow. So never trade a ton and never over risk and never over leverage, but winners are right around the corner on the one-off time that we have a losing day. And I just think this is something that you commit to the process. All the testimonials we showed today, those are traders that had 0 winners with me when we started this service. And now we're talking, 200 plus winners with Randy. I've got 400 trades in the service. I've got members that have joined, all throughout the timeline we've been together. But I've traders that also couldn't even turn on their broker platform or couldn't find a call and put button, right? And now these are traders that are taking the same trade with me right alongside me, making hundreds of dollars per day. Dave, for example, I mean, I've seen Dave take anywhere between 3 and 5 trades a day, making like $15 to $2,000 in a single day. And this is a guy that struggled to turn on a broker platform like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So you can certainly learn fast. And I think that is my job. That's why I'm in the trenches with you every single day. I will teach you all the mechanics of the strategy. But the nice part is it's a clean slate trading day. You show up, you follow the process, you try to win the day, and you keep trading. And this is an enjoyable grind because we don't have to overthink it, Nate. Honestly, anytime I've overthought it, like, oh my gosh, we had a huge gap today, or what's Trump going to say? Or what about the Fed? Honestly, the markets just do their thing. They just are so good at they're just so good at being reliable and being efficient that we just play to the hands of, I'm telling you, we're just the water boy on the all-star team and let the market makers do what they do best. And we usually side with the winning side. It feels great.
Yeah. I mean, again, I could say a whole lot of things here about why the market maker move works so well. And there's a lot to kind of go down those bunny trails, but I mean, your numbers speak for themselves. Live trading over the last year and a lot of different crazy market conditions. ATR on the SPX has been 7 times higher than it is right now, everywhere in between and where it is right now. And your strategy has basically been consistent through all those conditions, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. So, again, I could theorize about how cool it is and why the market makers are good at defending those levels. But I guess what I would say is look at the track record, guys. I mean, if something that's appealing to you to get into the market every day and have a really high degree of probability that you're going to come out as a winner, doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but just, a really good chance every time you swing the bat. I can't really recommend something a whole lot higher than a daily trade that wins 90% of the time.
Yeah. And look, even through like March and April, I know that there's a lot of uncertain times out there. Nobody really knew what was going to happen. We all talked about it, internally here as well. Like, what does this all mean for the bigger market? But what I said to members is, regardless of what the market does, whether we're down 20%, up 20%, if the whole market is just going to be in the greatest bear market or the greatest bull market, I'm going to be in the trenches with you trading every single day because it's my job. My job is to make the most money I can, the safest way I know how. This is a very safe way to trade. If you lose on the day is done. Show up and trade the next day. Don't drag your losers with you. Yeah. Know that the probabilities are on your side. We've logged it. I don't know any other services, Nate, that have had over 400 trades in a year. I don't know any, in fact, at least the Prosperity Pub. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we've got more active, but I'm like, that's pretty darn active when we're averaging over 1 trade a day. And we've had, so many winners. And it's just, it's this simple. Process equals profits. I like showing up every single day. I get a feel for the market. I put on the mechanical trade, follow the process, and it usually works. And then as the day unfolds, I can also sprinkle in a bonus trade here, bonus trade here. I might position out for a couple of days. I share this with all my daily profit plays too. They get some bonus trades from me in addition to just the straightforward daily profit play that I love every single day.
Yeah.
And I've got a few questions from the private messages if you want them.
Go for it.
Sure, please.
All right. So the most common one, of course, is, about the pattern day trading rule, and you covered that a little bit. They can open multiple accounts to be able to trade this on a daily basis without risking 3 or more. They could only do it a few days a week, right? If they want to do it in one account. They could also, if they wanted to, let it run to expiration at the end of the day, and it won't be a day trade, but that's not really how it's designed.
I don't love letting it go all day. Usually I'm setting my take profits around the 15, 20, 25, 30%. I personally like the 25%, just stick to the mechanics, set the trade, set the 25%, walk away. Rarely does the trade go all day. In fact, usually within 90 minutes, it's closing out for profit. So David just mentioned the workarounds. I think the cleanest workaround right now for a lot of the members that I've been told is if you don't have a 25K account, then you've got a small account here with one broker, a small account here with another broker, and you can take your 2 trades a week and 3 trades a week, and that's your daily profit play. It never overlaps. The brokers don't know you're taking 5 trades total because they're totally different. But that's an easy workaround. And like I said, I'm hopeful and optimistic that early in 2026, there is no pattern day trading. I mean, if you can bet on what gender baby Taylor Swift is going to have on a prop market, I'm sure that they should remove pattern day trading for options traders.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some joke about a strike price in there, but I don't know. The next question is there were some questions about, obviously, because a lot of people that are here for Opening Playbook are in Nathan and Graham's programs. So this obviously has some similarities to Graham's 60-minute, and I don't know, Nathan might be in a better position to answer this. Kind of what the differences are. I know that Graham's is more directional. This one, you're playing both sides of the fence, but if you want to do the comparison,
I mean that's the big difference. Directional trade, looking for a move inside the day. Chris is basically putting nice comfy barriers on both sides of the market and saying, hey, as long as it stays in between here and the market makers have it right, I'm going to ride their coattails and take a profit. I like, he said, you don't have to be LeBron James. You can just be the guy who sits on the bench, and as long as LeBron wins, you win. I kind of like that analogy. So that's really how the strategy is designed.
I like to think of it as if Graham's 60-minute and your 2-way program had a baby.
There we go.
There we go. A lot of baby making here.
But just whatever I can do to make you feel uncomfortable about it, Nathan, is really my goal. So the next question was about let's see here. Do you happen to know if if these trades can be done through the one-click trading platform directly to the broker if they have that connection? Are there limits on like the legs or anything on that? I don't really know that much about the one-click trading functionality for that.
Nate, do you do that right now in any of your services? Do you use like the one-click trading execution?
They do for the people who have it integrated, like, because obviously Tasty is one of the options.
Yep.
They do, but that's a good question actually, Dave, on the 4 legs. I'm not 100% sure. Let's put that on our list to check. That's actually a great question, and I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Yeah. That is
I know you can do it Tasty, you can do it
interactive.
interactive. So, but I don't know what the limits are, so I didn't want to answer that one.
I'd like to see how that whole experience plays out. So if I do put on the trade, if I can do that, I just want to know like what it's like, because when I do the trades live, it's like you're watching my screen, you're watching me click the buttons, I'm putting the trade, I'm typing in Telegram right away. So like I'm doing everything live in front of you. So if it's another 60 seconds for me to get the trade ready and post it in one-click trading, like I'm happy to do that. I just don't know what that process looks and feels
Nathan,
like.
I'll be talking to Ileana shortly. I can part of our OCT team. I can ask her if she knows the answer and kind of go from there. Maybe put a demo together for our traders, and then we can put that out to the people, to the members, to the people, power to the people. Can you talk about the exits? Like, you obviously you give out the trade. Can you talk about what you give out as far as the targets and the exits?
Yep. So I'll give an example. If I took a trade where on the show yesterday, David, we walked through this. So let's say I took a trade and I got filled for, I'll just use really easy numbers. If I'm doing a, $5 spread and I collect $1 credit, that means I can make a maximum of $1 and I'm risking $4 if I'm dead wrong. Okay. So for me, that's pretty contained risk. And of that $1 max credit, I'm usually happy getting 30, 40 bucks out of that $1. So a couple contracts in, that's how I get like that 80, 90, 100 bucks a day. Usually takes a couple contracts to do that. But routine is, for about $1,000 risk, we're generating roughly, 100 to 150 bucks a day. So we can scale it on contract size. But as far as the take profit, If I got filled at $1 credit, I'm happy generally getting out at 70 cents. If I get filled for, $3 credit, I'm happy getting out at, $2 debit. So I'm trying to generate somewhere between about 20 to 25, 30% take profits on my credits. And again, if that's like, what the heck is this guy talking about? That's why I teach master classes. That's why I do it every single day. I set the trade up. I set the take profit. This is what it feels like. You jump into the session. We set the trade up. We set the take profit in the broker platform. You literally don't have to be in front of your charts anymore. The trade is in. The trade is done. Let the market makers do their job. And I mean, wouldn't that be nice? I'll use that basketball analogy. Would it be nice to just be the water boy and you've got just water set on all the chairs and you can walk away and just go watch the game for fun, get some popcorn, and then come back and it's like, hey, we won. Cool. It's low maintenance. As long as you have, trade size under control and you're not like, I don't want anybody to feel like they have to micromanage these trades. The trade is in, the take profit is in, let the broker do the work, let the market makers do their job. And we typically win most of our trades.
You put that one extra take profit order in, and then it's kind of like you have the freedom you would have if you were letting it ride to the end of the day, but you don't have to take that risk.
That's exactly right. Yep. So the take profit is in, and that's what should get hit most of the time. Yep.
Those are all the questions that I have here. You guys covered a lot in the presentation. It's really great, and I know you were on this morning. I know you had people that were there from the closing playbook yesterday that joined you this morning. We had people in closing playbook. For those of you that weren't here, we had people that were in closing playbook that were already members of Chris's program, touting how great it was and what a great teacher he is, how much he knows. So definitely some positive feedback from our normal group that's here. And great discount you're bringing with you today. Let me add my screen share so you guys can get to your trading. It's almost 12 o'clock. I know you got other stuff going on. I can kind of wrap it up and answer any last minute questions if you want.
I would like to toss one thing in real quick. I wanted to kind of wait till the end, but I am hosting a masterclass today for everyone. So if you are in my daily prof play, if you did sign up today at 1 p.m. today, I am hosting a live masterclass, and I do intend to do this, Nate, for the next week or week and a half. I'm going to run every day, not just the morning sessions, but also an afternoon session to make sure let's replay the day, let's revisit the day, and let's talk core mechanics and strategy and make sure we're all on the same page of why we do this trade. So today, 1 p.m. masterclass, and I'll just continue to do that for the next probably week and a half. Because I want, I understand that it might be a lot up front when it's wait, it's a non-directional trade. We're taking maybe 2-4 legs at a time. I just want to make sure that every little bit, every little component of this trade is for you to learn, and I will teach you everything to be successful.
Awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Chris, for being on. Appreciate it. I know you've done the hard work of actually grinding this out every day and putting together that incredible track record. So happy to get to help you share it with some of our people, and looking forward to everyone, taking advantage of it. See y'all later.
Take care.
All right. Take care. Have a good day, guys. So if you want to get in on that masterclass that's at 1 p.m. today, you need to be a member of the Daily Profit Play Alerts program. You can do that obviously by clicking the link in the chat or in any of the other links on the screen, or by going to prosperitypub.com/100, or you can call 904-706-3537. Also want to point out that there's a lifetime offer on the second page of the order form if you do it online. Obviously, if you call in, you can just go straight from nothing to lifetime. So those prices are in the announcements and in the chat. So it's you have a 1, 2, and 3 year option on the first page of the order form, and then you can upgrade to lifetime on the second page, and it'll be the difference between whatever you took on the first page and the all-in price of $21.94 for the VIP lifetime membership. So if you want to be able to get in on this and get this, have several hundred trades a year and have that every year and not have to worry about what's the price going to be to renew next year. I got it at this great price of $11.97 for 1 year, but what's it going to cost me a year from now to renew? For less than doubling that 1 year price, that $11.97, for less than double that, you can have this for life. And that will not only mean you have just almost an infinite number of trades coming to you, but it's at obviously the cheapest cost on a per year basis you're ever going to get it. And it is transferable so that if you decide to stop trading or you want to leave it to somebody in your will, you can pass this membership on to somebody else, but that's only with the VIP lifetime version. So a lot of benefits to getting VIP. You're basically getting the VIP for $3 less than the normal price of 1 year, which is just an insane discount. So take advantage of that. If you are going to be trading for a while, if you're going to be trading for even 2 years, it's worth it because it's literally less than the price of 2 discounted 1 year memberships. So if you're going to be trading for 2 years or more, then the lifetime is definitely the way to go. And again, it's transferable if you decide to pass it to somebody else. So that is basically a never-ending membership. What else? So the way to do this and get the most out of it is to join Chris every morning at 9 a.m., where he talks about the strategy and he talks about what's going on that day and sets up the trade. Of course, if you're not available to do that by being a member, you'll get the alerts anyway, and you can take that trade. And he normally does it right after market open. So it's like, 9:35 a.m., Eastern time that these trades basically come out, within a few minutes of the market open, 5-10 minutes. And then you're pretty much set up for the day. And he'll talk about, what the profit target should be. And there's training in the members area to teach you how to calculate all of that, how to do all of that for yourself. So you understand, hey, this is what my risk would be if I take this trade. This is what my potential profit is. This is what I need to set my target at if I want to make this percentage on my credit or this percentage on my risk. So there are a lot of different ways doing this. So we appreciate everybody being here and watching the presentation. If you have any other questions, this is your chance to get them answered right away live on the air. Otherwise, write down the phone number that you have on the screen, 904-706-3537, so that you have a way to get your questions answered after we close out the webinar. Let's see what we have in the chat. Okay, so we have somebody who just joined, said, I just joined. I want to make sure I don't miss the opportunity to get into the live training. So what you should be able to do is once you get into the members area, and I'm going to pull it up right now so we can see exactly what it looks like. Once you get into the members area, there should be a daily profit play alerts section. And then when you go in there, let's see, there should be a link to the class that's coming up. Let's see. Let me see if it's in here. Live masterclass, trade tracker, daily profit indicator, video course, trade runes, and live sessions. Let's see what we have in here. I don't actually see it. It will go out for sure on his Telegram. So as long as you're a member of Chris's Telegram, well, it's going to be for members only. Let me see where that, give me a second here, and let me see where that class is posted. Let me just do that real quick while you're all still here. Give me just a second. Let's ask Deanna. All right, give me just a minute to do that. What do you need to look for on Telegram to find Chris? Oh, let me give everybody the link to Chris's Telegram. I'm going to put that in the general chat. Give me 1 second. I'll post that. So this is Chris's general Telegram, and I believe it'll be posted in there. I mean, you should definitely, if you're going to be a member of his programs, definitely have that. There may be a separate one for daily profits. I'm not entirely sure. Let me see. Actually, I don't think there is a separate one. I think that's the only one. I think that's the same one for daily profits. But let me look real quick. No, there is a separate one for daily profit alerts because you have to be a member to get that one. So the daily profit alerts one is in the members area for sure. So you're going to want to go in there and get his Telegram for specifically for daily profit alerts, and that's in the members area. So do that to make sure that you get notified of everything DPA related, but that should all be in the members area under daily profit alerts. As far as a class today, we don't have the link yet. I know it's only an hour and 5 minutes away, but they don't have the link together yet. You will get an alert as long as you're part of the DPA Telegram. You'll get an alert. So make sure you get into the members area and get the Telegram channel for daily profit alerts. I can't give it out here in the chat because it's only for members only, but that will make sure that you get it. And you should get an email as well if you're a member of daily profit alerts. So that is the answer to those questions regarding today. Okay. So question here is daily profits an iron condor play? So typically it is. It could also be a reverse iron condor. So a standard iron condor says it's going to stay within a certain range, and a reverse iron condor says we're betting on it going outside that range. So it has to go above or below the lines instead of stay between the lines. But it's usually one of those or the other. It's usually, and some brokers just call them iron condors the same either way. And some will call it like a long iron condor, some will call it a short iron condor. But like it's basically an iron condor or a reverse iron condor. It's either in the box or outside the box. But that is generally how he's playing that, yes. He doesn't like to call them iron condors for some reason. Chris hates the silly names they give all these different types of trades. So he doesn't generally call it that, but that is what it is. All right. I think we answered all the other questions. I'll give everybody another minute. Let me see what we have here. All right. I think that is everything. We're going to go ahead and close this out. We'll be back in about 3.5 hours for closing playbook. But in the meantime, if you join Daily Profit Alerts, you should be looking for a class to start at 1 p.m. And that'll be a deep dive into the program, how to use it, how the trades are formulated, how to enter them into your broker account, and all of that kind of good stuff. So definitely look out for that if you join. All right, we'll see you back here in about 3.5 hours for closing playbook. And I believe Graham will be doing a deep look into the new Apex software that is coming out for his class tomorrow. So all kinds of exciting stuff happening this week. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.